Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So we got the first official trailer for Aquaman coming off of the teaser about 5 days ago. I did my breakdown for that video, so make sure you guys check it out as well. This is my reaction for the official trailer. Maybe point out a few details along the way. So let's get into this. Let's go.
He's stronger than before.
It's the Black Trident.
So we see the WB logo etched on a huge chunk of rock right there, which might indicate a new location. That's really important for the film. We have seen in Atlantis a couple of different places for the most part, but it doesn't showcase anywhere that's looking like this. This might be a whole nother location altogether. Then we see that repurposed scene from the first movie that we discussed. This is the first meeting between Atlanta and Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, since being born, indicating that this might be a crucial location as well. Voiceover by Arthur Curry now talking about his past, saying that 4 years ago he has been a wanderer, not really knowing what to do with his life. Arthur has been known to help humans out, like that fishing village in the Justice League movie where Ben Affleck's Batman was trying to recruit him. This is the time that he shunned the Atlanteans and his heritage, basically the first movies, the events that led to him becoming King of Atlantis. Then we see a lighthouse here where his father lives. So this scene, we see a couple of figures having a good time, having a picnic based on the hair on the two figures at the bottom there. Atlanta and Mira are both sitting down. Of course, Arthur and Thomas doing war dance to kind of entertain them. Voiceover continues now that he's a husband to Mira, played of course by Amber Heard, who we see very little of in this trailer. As you know, they're shoving her in the background for the marketing because of the whole depth trial, but she will be in the movie, except that she's not in it too much. The next thing we see Aquaman with Aqua Baby. I'm not kidding, that is his name, but also Arthur Curry Jr. And if you don't want to get anything spoiled for you, do not do any research into this character, just in case they kind of stick to the comics and the source material for this one. And it's kind of a heartbreaker, and I know it's really a dark plotline for that particular character, but if you're curious, go ahead and look it up. So we see a couple of clips of him being a dad, but at the same time he's having to run an entire kingdom, as we see him asking Thomas how he did it, which responds he had an easier job because he wasn't a king and all of that. Then a scene of Aquaman saving an Atlantean ship from crashing down. He's basically ruling the entire kingdom here, and he's expected to protect them as well, save his citizens from accidents like this. Then we parallel that with his life as a dad. We see him hanging his working clothes to dry out, which is pretty funny. He's an Atlantean, but he's also of royal blood, so they kind of explain it like they don't need to be constantly in water to survive, unlike regular Atlanteans who have to wear basically fish tanks on their heads up in the surface. Then we see the throne of Atlantis really looking majestic, looking like seashells in the background. James Wan really knows what he's doing. Then they show us the local Atlanteans. As Arthur says, 500 million people live in Atlantis, or maybe called the ocean their home. We know a couple of those species from the first film, and the trailer shows regular Atlanteans, mer people, living out their lives. This one looks like a market of some kind, and really cool jellyfish lanterns as well. We see crowds of people in an arena, and this is the arena we see from the first movie, like from when Arthur and ORM dueled for the throne of Atlantis. So it seems they're continuing the tradition, maybe with other combatants. Then we see a submarine that's shaped like a hammerhead shark here. It seems to be the same ship that Black Manta is on, so indicating that this might belong to him, and this location might be where he finds the Black Trident as he goes inside one of the submersibles that we have seen before. As I said, it looks old-timey and kind of looks like that headpiece from the first diving suits. Incidentally, it's also the icon from James Wan's production company Atomic Monster. So we see Yahya Abdul-Mateen playing, of course, Black Manta here, explaining his evil plan. He's basically out for revenge against Arthur because, as you know, he blames him for the death of his father. So that's his whole MO, is to destroy Aquaman and everything he loves. And I like the contrast between showcasing that Arthur is content with his, life being kind of king, having a family, then everything goes downhill. Then we see the ship attack Atlantis here all alone, as we see like the backdrop of the edge of the city, and there's like defensive ships coming at it. We actually see green energy shield the entire submarine. He's probably using the Black Trident's magic to shield it, and also to enhance the other smaller submersibles like the octopus looking ones we saw earlier. We see Atlanta trying to run away as well. Maybe Manta's plan involves catching her, as we hear him talking about Arthur's family and how he wants to destroy everything. And we see the scene of the lighthouse burning. Again, contrasting between the previous scene with his, happy moment with his family having a picnic. Arthur and Atlanta running towards the burning wreckage. Probably Thomas is in there somewhere. We're not really sure at this point. Maybe even his son, which we know is living out in the lighthouse. Then we see him use his eye beams, and it seems that it's gotten an upgrade here as well as he blasts on the Atlantean ships. This is basically civilians because this is the Atlantean highway. So these are civilians going into Atlantis itself, and Manta's kind of going all out war, destroying them with these powerful blasts. Then of course Nicole Kidman as Atlanta talking to her son about stopping Black Manta and that global meltdown is imminent. She also says that the Trident's corruption is spreading, which indicates that the magic from the Trident can be controlled and will eventually overcome everything on Earth. As we see, Black Manta is fully consumed by the Trident's magic. He has glowing green eyes here, and I do have a theory about that later on in the video. Maybe that power is actually someone kind of possessing him. We'll discuss more about that in a second. Then we see a scene in the desert. This is maybe the old Atlantean ruins. We have seen this before in the first movie. Aquaman's suit seems to have turned him invisible for some reason. He might be hiding from Black Manta's forces. He also might have lost his power. He doesn't have the Trident anywhere here in the scene, and he's also kind of alone. And this is directly, as Arthur says, someone might be able to help them, and maybe that's what he's doing here because he kind of needs help. He's getting his ass kicked. I'm not sure why there's zombies here as guards, but we do see one guarding Orm in prison, and this one's kind of guarding that particular prison, and this one gets blasted off of the door into the wall there. Then we see Aquaman saying, "You don't look so good," as we see Orm super thin, like he's starved and his muscles are atrophied from being kept away from water, because that's the thing about Atlanteans, they get their strength from water. And although Arthur and Orm doesn't really need it to survive, they kind of need it for their superhuman strength and durability. As we see Orm later on near water fighting 4 of these zombie prison guards, and as you can see, he instantly regained his muscle and strength. Well, for some reason Arthur seems to be weaker than his brother here. Apparently he doesn't like to be called that, as he asks for an I-5. So they go back underwater on that manta ray looking ship. Orm seems to have cleaned up here a bit and says he can't believe he let that happen to Atlantis. Although Orm was a bad guy, he was more or less an effective king. He ruled like a tyrant, but he does love the job. Unlike Arthur, apparently he kind of hates being king, as he says here, and he responds that he hates the job. It's more of a chore for him. So they end up in what looks like the hidden sea where Atlanta lived alone for 20 years. Maybe they're looking for an artifact here, or maybe they're trying to go to another location. As you can see, there's a volcano with fumes of green smoke in the distance, and another Lord of the Rings kind of visual here, like a Mount Doom kind of place. As I said, Arthur doesn't have his trident or any of his gear when he rescued Orm, so something probably happened since the Black Manta attack that landed him on this situation. Then we see Arthur slam himself on an old statue, and it does go down, forming a bridge for them to cross. And we see the dynamic here, like the serious one is Orm and Arthur, of course, goofing around. James Wan did say that there's elements of a bromance between the two characters, which is pretty interesting. They started out as enemies and now they kind of work together to beat Manta. So the next scene, we see Arthur in chains, and Orm is there as well, flanked by bipedal hammerhead sharks. This might be related to Black Manta's sub design, and maybe this species allied themselves to Orm. We're not sure at this point, but they're kind of talking about Orm in this scenario, or in this part of the trailer, and how he's different and he's more powerful. A scene of Manta opening huge doors. This is where he probably discovered the Black Trident. Then he uses his eye beams again, as Arthur says he's stronger than before, and we see both Orm and Arthur get blasted off of the windows here. Then Orm goes on about the Black Trident and kind of the background on what happened, what it is, as we see Black Manta holding it. It is glowing green, as I said, with green magic, and he is flanked 2 of the submarine drivers. So these 2 men are kind of holding those old-timey helmets from the diving suits, as I mentioned before. Then we see King Atlan as Orm tells the story of the Trident. We see a battle scene on the surface. It doesn't look like it's underwater. So the theory is that this entire place is inside the volcano or somewhere near that, and that's why it's all foggy and stuff, which looks to me like visually it's another Lord of the Rings reference, because there's a lot of Witch King of Angmar vibes with the green glow and architecture. And also the main bad guy looks like Sauron as well. We can see Atlanteans fighting off the yellow machines with the lung tentacles here. Looks like it has like a shield, and we see both tridents crossing here, the black one and the golden one from King Atlan. So this is the dude like looks like Sauron. I mean, seriously, he even gets defeated by getting his hand chopped off, just like Sauron. Remember from that last battle of the Alliance when he gets his fingers chopped off by Isildur. Then Orm goes on to say that Black Trident is a curse upon all of his followers. So I'm thinking all of the 7 kingdoms, on each of those he does have his own minions, but they're getting corrupted and turns them into zombies basically. As we see in the next scene, this is like the trench creatures from the first film, and it looks like they're also corrupted, with some of them having glowing green eyes. And this is what Lana was talking about, that the magic was spreading. It also came into the depth, into the trench. They're corrupting all of these monstrous creatures in the dark. Then we get a close-up of the corrupted Atlantean. Based on the look here, he does have green glowing eyes and inside as well, so really has that zombie look to him. Next, Black Manta in full suit wielding the trident. It looks like he's assembling it for the first time. As you see, there's power from where he attached it forming up. I want to talk about the suit first of Black Manta. His headgear is kind of smaller from the first movie. Even the suit piece, not bulky at all, is hugging the body to accentuate all those muscles, which just looks really cool. Then the tower crumbling down, and again, it looks more like Lord of the Rings imagery to me here, reminding me of Barad-dûr falling down after Frodo destroys the ring in Mount Doom. Also, this palace looks like that necromancer dude who might be living there. So probably towards the end where Arthur and Orm beats Manta or something, this crumbles all down after, you know, the magic basically of the necromancer gets destroyed. So his entire structure topples down. Then we see Manta on top of the lighthouse holding up the trident in victory. You can see the bodies underneath them. You can see, I think this is Atlanta and Mira. I'm not sure if there are any other bodies here. And he's also surrounded by all of his minions. You can see the Atlanteans, the mer people, I think, and some of the trench creatures are there. So he is controlling them using the Black Trident. Then Orm says he needs to end the bloodline, of course, referencing Arthur and himself all the way from King Atlan, the royal line of the Atlantean throne. Then we see the final duel between Black Manta and Aquaman inside that necro building. Probably before it gets destroyed, you can see that Arthur's trident is now glowing golden. It's like it's emanating power just like that Black Trident. So they're in opposition to each other. We have seen this scene in the first teaser. A huge sea monster attacks Arthur, probably from the trench. Then Aquaman without his armor and trident trying to punch something, that he gets blasted by what looks like a sonic weapon. He gets pinned down by a big rock. I don't know why, but he looks depowered to me, like he would have been able to lift this if he was in normal power. Aquaman is really powerful, not as strong as Hal-El, but his Atlantean physiology gives him super strength, super durability, and all of that. He is underwater here, but to me, he's kind of struggling here, and that's a big question mark. Then Orm says he's not as bad as he think he is, finally coming around. Continues that if Arthur leads, then the 7 kingdoms will follow him, which is kind of the main story beat for the first movie. I don't know why they're rehashing the whole thing, but when he got the trident from Atlan, he was able to control the seas itself. So basically, he is the one true king, has returned, and all of that. A few scenes here of the 2 submersibles flying across an icy plain. Finally, Aquaman using the trident to call in reinforcements. Also get a second look of the Atlantean super highway with all of the pretty heavy traffic. And then the only scene of Amber Heard as we see her in Atlantis. Maybe she's trying to break into a porthole of some kind, maybe inside one of those submersibles. She's trying to get in, maybe to save someone. I'm not really sure who at that point. Maybe it's Atlanta, maybe it's her son. She looks really pissed and she wants to break that porthole. So we'll definitely find out. Then Arthur riding a seahorse again. This might be Storm, his trusty seahorse from DC Super Friends. Again, I kind of want it to be purple for some reason. Then Orm gets captured by the octopus machines here. They're really powerful, as I said. We also see the original owner of the trident. I'm not sure who this is. It's not confirmed. I think some have speculated that this might be Triton from the comics, because he also wields a dark trident, and it does have this exact same design, although he's depicted here very differently, like he's being shrouded in darkness and that green stuff coming off of him as well. My guess is when he died, and this is the theory of what I was talking about earlier, like Sauron, his spirit went into the spear after it gets chopped off, and that's why it's glowing and continues to have power. And once Black Manta got a hold of it, it's kind of possessing him and giving him superhuman strength and all the powers that he had when he was in power, kind of. So definitely a symbiotic relationship relationship between the two. So really powerful stuff. Then we see Aquaman looking at someone, looking like he's in a dock with all of those containers there. Then a huge sea creature bellowing, maybe again from another part of the ocean. Then that scene with Atlanta getting captured by the Octa machines like we have seen before. And I gotta be honest, that really looks janky AF, referring to the CG, of course. Like, I know it's supposed to be a quick moving scene, but you can definitely tell the uncanny valley. But overall, the trailer was good. It had all the story beats in it, no doubt trying to make up for lost time. Remember, this movie comes out in December, a little over 3 months time. We haven't seen any marketing save for that teaser 5 days ago, which is a trailer for this trailer. Reportedly, Warner Brothers pulled the funding for the marketing. What's weird though is that they have been making this movie better. Reports have said that the film has had multiple reshoots, which needless to say costs a lot of money, which adds to the overall expense of the film, which in turn increases the amount you'd need from the box office. And if The Flash is any indication, we can expect a low box office for this one. Only time will tell. Tell me what your thoughts are down below. Do let me know what you think about the trailer, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next one.